The 14th of March, 1899, Volume 2. The evil of man forces God to chastise him. This morning, my most sweet Jesus, transporting me with him, made me see the multiplicity of the sins that are committed. They were such and so many that it is impossible to describe them. I could almost see a star of enormous magnitude in the air, and within its roundness it contained black fire and blood. It would strike so much fear and fright in looking at it that it seemed that death would be a lesser evil than to live in these times so sad. In other places one could see volcanoes with more mouths opening, which are also to inundate the country nearby. One could also see sectarian people who will go on causing fires. While I was seeing this, my lovable but afflicted Jesus told me, "Have you seen how much they offend me, and what I keep prepared? I am withdrawing from man." And as he was saying this, we both withdrew into my bed, and I could see that because of this withdrawal of Jesus, men would give themselves over to more awful actions, more murders. In a word, I seemed to see people against people. Once we had withdrawn, Jesus seemed to place himself in my heart, and he began to cry and sob, saying, "Oh man, how much I have loved you! If you knew how I grieve in having to chastise you, but my justice forces me to this. Oh man, how I cry and grieve over your lot." Then he would burst into tears, and again he would repeat those words. Who can say the pity, the fear, the torment that arose in my soul, especially in seeing Jesus so afflicted and crying? I did as much as I could to hide my sorrow, and in order to console him, I said to him, "O Lord, it will never be that you chastise man. Holy Spouse, do not cry. Just as you have done the other times, you will do now. You will pour it into me. You will make me suffer, and so your justice will not force you to chastise the people." Jesus would continue crying, and I would repeat, "But listen to me a little bit. Have you not put me in this bed so that I might be victim for others? Have I perhaps not been ready to suffer the other times so as to spare the creatures? Why do you not want to listen to me now?" But with all my poor speaking, Jesus would not calm himself from crying. So no longer able to hold it, I too broke the dike of my crying, saying to him, "Lord, if your intention is to chastise man, I too do not have the heart to see creatures suffer so much. Therefore, if you truly want to send the scourges, and my sins no longer make me worthy to suffer in the place of others, I want to come. I want to be on this earth no more." Then the confessor came, and as he called me to obedience, Jesus withdrew, and so it ended. The following morning I kept seeing Jesus withdrawn within my heart, and I saw that people would come even inside my heart and would tread upon him and trample him underfoot. I would do as much as I could to free him, and Jesus, turning to me, told me, "Do you see where the ingratitude of man reaches? They themselves force me to chastise them, and I cannot do otherwise. And you, my dear one, after you have seen me suffer so much, may you hold crosses more dearly and pains as delights." End of the reading. The 14th of March, 1900, Volume 3. How to Draw Souls to Catholicism. Since the confessor had given me the obedience to pray to the Lord that he would manifest to me what should be done in order to draw souls to Catholicism and to remove so much unbelief, I prayed for several days, and the Lord would not deign to manifest himself on this point. Finally, this morning, I found myself outside of myself, transported into a garden, which seemed to be the garden of the church, and in it there were many priests and other dignitaries who were discussing this topic. While they were discussing, a dog of enormous size and strength came out, and the majority of them were so scared and exhausted as to let themselves be bitten by that beast. Then they would withdraw like cowards from the enterprise. That fierce dog had no strength to bite only those who had Jesus in their hearts as their centre, and would thus form the centre of all of their actions, thoughts, and desires. Ah, yes, Jesus formed a seal for these people, and that beast would become so weak as to have not even the strength to breathe. Now, while they were discussing, I heard Jesus behind my shoulder saying, all other societies know who belongs to their party. Only my church does not know who her children are. The first step is to know who those are who belong to her. And these you can know by establishing a reunion one day to which you will invite them, so that who is Catholic should convene to the appointed place for this reunion, and there, with the help of the lay Catholics, they should decide what it is advisable to do. The second step is to oblige to confession those Catholics who convene, which is the most important thing that renews man and forms the true Catholics. And this, not only for those who are present, but they should oblige the leaders to oblige their subjects to confession. And if they do not succeed with gentle manners, they should dismiss them from their service. Once each priest has formed the body of his Catholics, then will they be able to advance to superior steps. In fact, recognizing the opportunity of the moment, the way to penetrate into other parties, and the prudence in exposing themselves is like the pruning of trees, which makes them produce large and mature fruit. But if the tree is not pruned, it does make, yes, a beautiful display of flowers and of leaves, but as soon as a frost comes or a wind blows, since the tree does not have enough sap and strength to sustain so many flowers in order to change them into fruits, the flowers fall off and the tree remains stripped. The same happens in the things of religion. First, you must form a suitable body of Catholics so as to be able to confront the other parties, and then you can come to penetrating into the other parties to form one single party. And after he said this, I did not hear him any more, and without even seeing him, I found myself inside myself. Who can say my pain at not having seen blessed Jesus for the whole day, and the tears I had to shed? End of the reading. The 14th of March, 1904, Volume 6. Because of the necessity of the times, Jesus asks for silence as he wants to chastise. As I was in my usual state, after I struggled very much, blessed Jesus came out from within my interior, and as I wanted to speak, he placed a finger on my mouth, telling me, "Be quiet, be quiet." I was left so very mortified, no longer dared to open my mouth. And blessed Jesus, seeing me so mortified, added, "Dearest daughter of mine, the necessity of the times brings silence, because if you speak to me, your word binds my hands, and I never come to the deeds, chastising as appropriate. And so we are always at the beginning. Therefore it is necessary that there be silence between you and me for some time." And while he was saying this, a sign came out with written on it, "It is decreed, scourges, pains, and wars." And he disappeared. End of the reading. The 14th of March, 1914, Volume 11. As the soul who lives in the divine will, fuses herself in Jesus. She takes possession of all that belongs to Jesus, and he cannot refuse her anything. Today, I was fusing all of myself in Jesus, to the extent of feeling Jesus alive and real within me. As I was feeling him, he said to me in such a tender and touching way that I felt my poor heart crack. My daughter, it is too hard for me not to content one who does my will. As you see, I no longer have hands, feet, heart, eyes, or mouth. I have nothing left of my will, since you took everything. You took possession of everything. I have nothing left which is not yours. This is why deserved chastisements are not being poured upon the many and great evils which inundate the earth, because it is hard for me not to content you. Further, how can I do that if I do not have hands? You don't believe me, do you? If hands were to be absolutely necessary to me, I would be forced to steal them from you, or to convince you so that you yourself would give them to me. How hard this is! How hard it is for me to displease one who does my will! I would displease myself. I remained astonished at this speaking of Jesus. Not only this, but I could really see that I had the hands, the feet, and the eyes of Jesus. So I said to him, Jesus, let me come. And he, give me a little more of life in you, and then you will come. End of the reading. The 14th of March, 1919, Volume 12, Effects of a Suffrage Done in the Divine Will. Louisa takes part in the pains which the humanity of Jesus received from his divinity, the first soul stigmatized in the divine will. While I was in my usual state, I found myself outside of myself, and I saw a late confessor of mine. A thought flashed into my mind. Ask about that thing which you have not told the confessor, whether you are obliged to tell it, and whether write it or not. I asked him, telling him what the thing was, and he said to me, Of course you are obliged. Then he added, Once you did for me a beautiful suffrage. If you knew the good you did to me, the refreshment that I felt, the years that I paid off. And I don't remember. Tell me what it was, and I will repeat it for you. And he, You immersed yourself in the divine volition, and took its power, the immensity of its love, the immense value of the pains of the Son of God, and of all the divine qualities. Then you came to me and poured them upon me. And as you poured them, I received the bath of the love that the divine power contains, the bath of the beauty, the bath of the blood of Jesus, and of all the divine qualities. Who can tell you the good you did to me? They were all baths which contained a divine power and immensity. Repeat it for me, repeat it for me. As he was saying this, I found myself back into myself. Now, in order to obey to my highest confusion and repugnance, I will say the thing which I had neglected to say and write. I remember that one day my sweet Jesus, speaking about his most holy will, and about the pains which the divinity made his most holy humanity suffer, said to me, My daughter, since I have chosen you as the first one to live in my will, I want that you too share in the pains which my humanity received from the divinity in my will. Every time you enter my volition, you will find the pains that the divinity gave me, not those which the creatures gave to me, although these too were wanted by the eternal will. But since those were given to me by creatures, they were finite. Therefore, I want you in my will, in which you will find infinite and innumerable pains. You will have countless nails, multiple crowns of thorns, repeated deaths, interminable pains, all similar to mine, divine and immense. which will extend in an infinite way to all, past, present, and future. You will be the first one to be, together with me, the little lamb killed by the hands of my Father, to rise again and be killed again. Not a limited time of times, as for those who have shared in the wounds of my humanity, but as many times as my divinity made me suffer. You will be crucified with me by the eternal hand, to receive in you the mark of the eternal, immense, and divine pain. We will present ourselves together before the throne of the Eternal One, with, written on our foreheads in indelible characters, we want death to give life to our brothers. We want pains to free them from the eternal pain. Aren't you happy? And I. Jesus, Jesus, I feel too unworthy, and I believe you are making a big mistake in choosing me, poor little one. Therefore, mind what you do. And Jesus, interrupting me, added, why do you fear? Yes, yes, I minded. For 32 years of bed in which I've kept you, I exposed you to many trials, and even to death. I calculated everything. And then if I am wrong, it will be a mistake of your Jesus, which cannot harm you, but only do immense good to you. But know that I will have the honour, the glory of the first soul stigmatized in my will. End of the reading. The 14th of March, 1920, Volume 12. The martyrdom of love surpasses almost in an infinite way all the other martyrdoms together. My state is ever more painful. While I was swimming in the immense sea of the privations of my sweet Jesus, my life, my all, I couldn't help lamenting and also saying some nonsense. And my Jesus, moving in my interior, sighing, told me, my daughter, you are the hardest martyrdom, the harshest pain for my heart. And every time I see you moaning, petrified by the pain of my privation, my martyrdom becomes more bitter, and the spasm is such that I am forced to sigh, and moaning, I say, oh man, how much you cost me. You formed the martyrdom of my humanity, which, taken by love's folly for you, took all your pains upon itself. And you continue to form the martyrdom of the one who, taken by love for me and for you, offered herself as victim for me and for your sake. Therefore, my martyrdom is continuous. Even more, I feel it more vividly, because it is the martyrdom of the one who loves me, and the martyrdom of love surpasses almost infinitely all other martyrdoms together. In placing his mouth close to the ear of my heart, moaning, he said, my daughter, poor daughter, only your Jesus can understand you and compassionate you, because I feel your very martyrdom in my heart. Then he added, listen, my daughter, if with the chastisement of war man had humbled himself and entered into himself, other chastisements would not be necessary. But man has raged even more. Therefore, in order to make man enter himself, more terrible chastisements than war itself are needed, which will occur. Therefore, my justice is forming voids. And if you knew what a void is being formed in my justice through my not coming to you, you would tremble. In fact, if I came to you, you would make my justice your own, and taking the pains upon yourself, you would fill the voids which man forms with sin. Haven't you done this for many years? But now the obstinacy of man makes him unworthy of this great good, and that is why I often deprive you of myself. And in seeing you martyred because of me, my pain is so great that I become delirious. I moan, I sigh, and I am forced to hide my moans from you, without even a chance to pour them out with you. so as not to give you more pain. End of the reading.